Hello and welcome to episode 104 of the How to Survive podcast. My name is Chris and joining me as ever is Joe.
Let's get something straight, Chris. This is not a weekend excursion. This is a serious investigation of the survivability of a movie. Your investors, whom I represent, are deeply concerned, and 45 minutes from now, if they're not convinced, I'm not convinced, I'll shut you down, Chris.
In 45 minutes, I'll be accepting your apologies. Na, 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 na.
Hello and welcome to episode 104 of the How to Survive podcast. My name is Joe, and joining me as ever is Chris.
Hello.
In good voice.
Yeah, good. I'm excited to talk about Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
What a film.
Yeah.
A classic.
Is there a gag you're building to?
No, it's not.
Just jumping
Just
in.
excited.
Good.
It's Friday.
It is Friday.
And
You got to get down on Friday.
yeah, and it's for once the Friday is just the day of the week and not the film that we're covering.
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
Yeah, so reasons to be cheerful.
Yeah.
Just looking at the dinosaur notes that you've got, this is fucking absolutely textbook Joe Sherville Friday 4:30 copy and paste, isn't
This
it?
is not. This is deep. I wrote that myself.
If you
With
are
hyperlinks.
if you are even considering reading that out in any capacity,
It's fine.
I'm gonna fucking go off.
It's well. I have to allude to it at least.
I hope. Yeah,
These are my notes. These are the notes I make every week. They're a full a full page of block A4 with no spacing.
Great.
Right. Let's get to it.
Hmm.
Jurassic Park, 1993. Director is Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
Stars Sam Neill
Mm-hmm.
and the woman in it,
Laura Dern,
and Laura Dern,
Jeff Goldblum,
and Jeff Goldblum,
Richard Attenborough.
and Richard Attenborough, and some kids.
Mm-hmm.
And Wayne Knight in his most famous role, other than Space Jam.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're talking about Jurassic Park, which is available to stream on Amazon. And if you haven't seen Jurassic Park, I would be surprised, but we're going to spoil it for you anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You've had 65 million years to learn all about Jurassic Park.
Mm.
What have you been doing?
Yeah.
And from here on out, we're going to start the recap, and there will be spoilers.
There it is. Welcome to Jurassic Park.
We've made living biological attractions so astounding that they'll capture the imagination of the entire planet.
The most phenomenal discovery of our time
How'd you do this?
becomes the greatest adventure of all time.
Can I touch it?
Sure.
Universal Pictures presents
You feel that?
Hold on to your butts.
a Steven Spielberg film.
Fences are failing all over the park.
Yeah, that's nice. Gotta go.
An adventure
I can't get Jurassic Park back online.
65 million years in the making. Jurassic Park.
Our story begins with a large freight container being loaded into some kind of enclosure in the middle of the night during a tropical storm. Despite the severely limited visibility, we quickly deduce that there is a dangerous animal in the container. And since we've seen this film 20 times or more, we know that it is a velociraptor.
Yes.
The raptor jolts free and kills one of the workers. Meanwhile, somewhere in the US desert, a paleontologist named Dr. Alan Grant and his colleague, paleobotanist Dr. Ellie Sattler, are working on an excavation. Their dig site is soon infiltrated by one John Hammond, a billionaire who tells them that he has created a wildlife park which they really must see. He offers to pay for their entire dig for many years to come if they'll agree to visit Isla Nublar off the coast of Costa Rica and give the go-ahead to the park's investors. The pair arrive on Isla Nublar and soon learn that Hammond has built a theme park filled with dinosaurs. He did so by extracting the blood of the dinosaurs from a mosquito from the Jurassic era. which has been preserved in amber. For any missing DNA, frog DNA was used to fill the gaps. To prevent breeding, all of the dinosaurs are female. This allows the park staff to keep the animal population under control, both in terms of number and in terms of potential danger to the public.
Yes.
Visiting chaostician Dr. Ian Malcolm...
Is that a thing?
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
One of the many things in this movie which creates a question mark in the real world. Anyway, visiting chaostician Dr. Ian Malcolm is not convinced, Chris, and he claims that life finds a way.
I'm simply saying that life finds a way.
The group is joined by John Hammond's grandchildren, Lex and Tim, and the group begins a tour of the park. The tour is underwhelming, with all of the dinosaurs appearing to hide in their enclosures. Dr. Grant gets out of his jeep and begins exploring on foot. The rest soon join him. They come across a sick Triceratops, and Dr. Sattler stays on to tend to it while the rest head back. A tropical storm soon hits the island, causing disruption to the communications. The majority of the park staff leave the island on a ship, leaving a skeleton crew of just John Hammond, the hunter and head of security, Robert Muldoon, the security engineer, Ray Arnold, and computer programmer, Dennis Nedry. Unbeknownst to the rest of the crew, Nedry has been bribed by a rival company to steal the dinosaur embryos from Jurassic Park. He attempts the heist during the storm, deliberately causing a massive power failure and blocking all users from fixing the failing systems by protecting it with a password. Exactly.
You didn't say the magic word.
Yeah, and he's got like a MS Paint GIF that he's made.
Of himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Is it like a...
Time on his hands.
Yeah.
He should tidy up his desk as well. It's a fucking mess.
Yeah. Well, you know what they say? A tidy desk is the sign of a sick mind. The storm proves too much for Nedry's escape jeep, and he skids off the road and is soon attacked by a Dilophosaurus and killed.
Yes.
By the way, I probably butchered the pronunciation of that. So if there are any paleontologists listening, which I'm sure there are, I apologise.
Yes. And it spits the acid in his face
Yeah.
and eyes, which apparently can blind and eventually paralyse you. That's
and then it eats you.
Why did they pick that one to breed?
It's a good question. It's a good question. Maybe we'll talk about that later.
We'll come to that.
Yeah. Having been split up earlier in the film, Chris, the main group are now under threat from the failing systems. Dr. Sattler makes it back to the main park with Muldoon and Hammond. Meanwhile, Doctors Malcolm and Grant, along with Lex and Tim, are attacked by a T-Rex. Thanks to some quick thinking by the two doctors, the children are saved, but a park inspector named Donald Gennaro is eaten by the Tyrannosaurus, and Dr. Malcolm is knocked unconscious by some falling debris. He doesn't die, though, because life finds a way.
Nice.
Yeah. Dr. Grant takes on the duty of protecting the children. Having fallen into the T-Rex enclosure, which is now free from the T-Rex, and survived various car-related mishaps, they sleep in a tree and are woken in the morning by a Brachiosaurus grazing on some leaves in their tree shelter. Dr. Sattler and Robert Muldoon retrieve the injured Dr. Malcolm, and they head back to the main building. They attempt to turn the power back on manually, but are required to head out through a patch of velociraptor-infested jungle to get there. Dr. Sattler turns on the power, but Muldoon is killed by a raptor. A clever one at that, and a female one.
Yeah.
Dr. Grant and the children make their way back to the main park building, discovering some dinosaur eggs on the way. Dr. Grant realises that the frog DNA in the dinosaurs enables them to change sexes and breed. They head on, but unfortunately, as they climb over a 10,000-volt fence, Dr. Sattler turns on the power, and Tim is annihilated by electricity.
She isn't aware that he's doing that, by the way. It's not like a vicious thing that she does.
Yeah. Luckily, despite being charged with 10,000 volts, only his hair is messed up.
Yeah.
For one scene.
You say that, but Dr. Grant has to perform like 5 minutes of CPR on him.
Listen.
But
he's fine.
Apart from that, his hair is a bit messed up, and that's all.
Yeah, for one scene.
Yeah.
Bit of a continuity error, I noticed, because that's the sort of thing I pick up on.
Right.
Once back in the main building, the children begin to eat jelly and are then attacked by a group of raptors. The raptors are outsmarted by Doctors Grant and Sattler, but they are chased into the museum foyer and fully surrounded by the monsters. Luckily, a Tyrannosaurus Rex kills the raptors, and all of the humans escape in a jeep. Flying away in a chopper, Dr. Grant, a former child hater, now appears to be a child lover.
He was certainly child agnostic.
Yeah.
And now he has got some affection for children.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
And he looks out the window at some condors, which are on the brink of extinction and will soon be gone for good. And he sits back and smiles. That's Jurassic Park.
Yeah. Did you notice in the scene where they're eating all the food, all of the loaves of bread are burnt?
Why is that?
Because it was 65 million years in the baking.
Well, that's fine.
Give in to it. Come
It's
on.
fine. It's a good one. It's a good one. You got me.
I did get you.
Yeah. My question is, how did the T-Rex get in there without anyone noticing?
Well,
Is it like it's a museum?
it's like tunnel vision. When you're stressed or scared, you don't notice all the things
All the
happening around you.
T-Rexes.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the T-Rex's vision is based on
On movement.
movement.
Yeah, their vision is based on not being stressed.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think of Jurassic Park?
It's obviously excellent. It's a very, very good film. It's probably up there with the other pinnacles of the, family thriller genre.
All made by Steven Spielberg.
Exactly, yeah. Or Star Wars, I suppose, as well. But yeah. It's got that same rollicking entertainment value that Indiana Jones and all those sorts of films has.
Yeah. Pushing the limits of believability, but it's also keeping it grounded in the movie's reality and exciting throughout.
Yeah, and it's not, it's not completely, like the explanation of getting blood from amber frozen mosquitoes is not so far fetched to sort of like mar the enjoyment of the film.
No,
I think.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously, when everyone talks about Jurassic Park, they talk about the visual effects, which still stand up to this day.
Yeah.
It's sparing use of CGI, which is still quite good to look at.
Yeah.
And obviously, the T-Rexes and stuff in close-up are puppets, giant puppets, which is obviously to its benefit because they're physical and they require less of the actors.
Yeah, I think the only time in which it's obvious that the puppet sections is the bit in the kitchen where there's quite a lot of like shots of sort of feet.
Right,
and and they just don't look as convincing. I find, and like that hand that opens the door handle and things, it's all a bit sort of like that looks more like a latex hand on a stick, as opposed to something that's movable and
a living thing.
Yeah.
My I didn't mind that. My problem was when the egg hatches and the thing comes out. It looks like the chest burster in Alien.
Right, yeah.
Just
it's
like
probably the same way that
Yeah.
they did it, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Glad we cleared that up. What were your favourite parts of the film?
Well, just the direction, obviously. Steven Spielberg, as we always say, is the master. You can see all the way through the textbook Steven Spielberg shots within shots and all that sort of thing. It's right the way through, and it just gives the whole thing a sort of such a luscious, like just rich visual flair that isn't based on huge amounts of CGI or anything like that. It's unflashy but very like beautifully done direction. Yeah, which I think is something that we always say about Steven Spielberg's films. I think the script's really tight as well. Almost everything has a sort of setup and payoff. Yeah, which is really good. So, obviously you've got the electric fences and the whole deal with that. You've got the electric locking gates, which you see being opened and closed by the security guards, and then later Dennis Nedry leaves them open. You've got the water cup that Dr. Malcolm uses to demonstrate chaos theory, and then later on we see it being used, like we see it with the tremors. Yeah. You've got the venom spitting dinosaur that, they talk about the venom and then surprise, surprise, they turn up. You've got the raptors that in the dig at the start, they're being unearthed, and then obviously they become the sort of main villain. Yeah. And of course the T-Rex, where you've got the skeleton in the giant, in the lobby of the museum, and then it turns up in real life. And you've got things like the pincer movement hunting,
Yeah.
which is sort of established. And all these things are sort of established and paid off, and they're just really satisfying. And just like the nice little touches, like when the T-Rex roars and the banner like floats to the ground in front of him, which is like an obvious like isn't it convenient that fell down, like, all that sort of shit. But I don't care. Like, it's just, it's Hollywood filmmaking at its finest.
It's a good visual metaphor.
Yeah. And it's just a thoroughly high quality film all the way through. And obviously the soundtrack's great.
Yes. Yeah, I'd agree with all those things.
I think it's got the best cinematic dad joke as well.
Is that the electric fence joke?
Yes. Yeah, where Dr. Grant like pretends to be shocked by the electric fence.
Yeah, it turns bad after about 5 minutes when the kid actually does get shocked.
Yeah, at least he did it before.
Yeah.
It would be poor taste if he was doing it afterwards.
Yeah, mocking him.
Yeah. And I think the performances as well stood out to me watching it this time round. Jeff Goldblum is just having like the time of his life.
Yeah.
And all of his sort of little, staccato sort of sentences and little noises and laughs and sort of all that sort of stuff.
You'll have to get used to Dr. Malcolm. He suffers from a deplorable excess of personality.
Yeah. It's just really funny. And then even the kids are all right, I think.
Yeah.
The bit that borderline ruins the film for me is I know this.
It's a Unix system.
Yeah. I know this. And it's like it's clearly a computer system, like what people who had never seen a computer, or like, being made for people who had never seen computer systems before would look like.
There's actually a subreddit on reddit.com called It's a Unix System, which is just clips from movies where people are like, this is a GUI system. I know exactly what, and there's two people on the same keyboard hacking into something.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Great stuff.
But it's saved by The Lost World having an even worse moment, which is where the gymnastics girl, flying kicks a velociraptor out of a window, which is terrible.
Yeah, I mean that's quite a suspension of disbelief, isn't it?
Yeah, but overall, it's, I think, a very high quality film, one for all the family, and an all-time classic.
I'd agree with you on all parts. I don't really have anything to add about the way the film was made. I think you covered it off in an extensive list. But what I would say, obviously, it's got a very good source material in Michael Crichton's acclaimed book of the same name.
Mm-hmm.
But I
That's
thought
a funny name for a book.
Yeah, of the same name by Michael Crichton. But I thought I'd share a few parts from that book, which they changed in the movie, which changed the story.
Okay.
Right? So obviously in the movie, Dr. Malcolm is hesitant to endorse the park's stability on the basis of like, you can't. It's a system, and systems can't be trusted, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he's never really quite specific about it. He just says like, vague cliches like life will find a way, right?
Yeah.
Whereas in the book, and I'm reading from Wikipedia here, Malcolm, having been consulted before the park's creation, is especially empathic in his prediction that the park will collapse, as it is an unsustainable, simple structure bluntly forced upon by a complex system with too many unpredictable variables, such as an uncontrollable population, attempting to contain animals with no real equivalent to extant animals, which also have no predictable behavior patterns, and an untested computer system that continually fails to monitor and feed the population. Now, that is exactly what goes wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I can see why they left it out of the movie, because if he'd said, I'll tell you what's going to go wrong, and then it went wrong, it wouldn't have been as good a film. Yeah,
but then again, most of that is sort of covered by the things that he brings up anyway. Like maybe not the specifics of the system not feeding the dinosaurs properly and population not being totally within their control. But I mean, it is basically, he says, this is a really bad idea.
Yeah.
And it's going to go wrong.
Yeah. I guess that's the point, isn't it? Although in the movie, he doesn't need to be a chaotician, does he? Because that doesn't come into play.
No, he just needs to be any person with a brain.
Exactly. The other part is the ending. This is a spoiler for Jurassic Park.
The
book.
novel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at the end, the park inspector Gennaro survives, and he
Right.
orders that the island be destroyed. But Grant rejects his authority, claiming that they must first inspect the whole situation. So Grant, Sattler, Muldoon, and Gennaro set out into the park to find the wild raptor eggs and compare hatched eggs with the island's revised population. Meanwhile, Hammond, taking a walk and contemplating building a new park, improving on his previous mistakes, hears a T-Rex roar and, startled, falls down a hill where he is eaten by a pack of Procompsognathus.
Right.
Right. So he dies.
Some dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Right.
He's
Hammond dies then.
Hammond dies,
Yeah.
but he's a bit of a villain as well. He's like, he's greedy. Yeah. I mean, he's greedy in the film.
He's not you don't get the sense that he's doing it for money though. He's
No.
doing it out of the sort of joy of doing it.
Yeah.
And that sort of feeds into why it happened in the first place, I think, because it feels more like they sort of just got a bit carried away,
Yeah.
as opposed to being like, we can make a load of money
Yeah.
out of this sort of ethically cloudy
Yeah.
idea.
I think there's an extent to that, though. He's always on about how much money he spent on it. Presumably, he wants a return on it.
Yeah, but I think I mean, obviously, because they're gonna turn it into a business.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's like, that's not the primary reason he's doing it.
There's a coda to the book as well. The survivors are rescued by the fictitious Costa Rican Air Force, where Grant reveals that the dinosaurs have been killing people. The Costa Rican Air Force then declare the island hazardous and unsafe.
Right.
Survivors of the incident are indefinitely retained by the US and Costa Rican governments at a hotel. Weeks later, Grant is visited by Dr. Martin Gutierrez, an American doctor who lives in Costa Rica. Gutierrez informs Grant that an unknown pack of animals has been migrating through the Costa Rican jungle, eating lysine crops and chickens. He also informs Grant that none of them, with the possible exception of Lex and Tim, are leaving the hotel anytime soon.
Right.
So it ends with Hammond dying and the rest of them imprisoned by the government, and some dinosaurs breaking loose into the world.
Great. It's quite it's maybe a more interesting ending, but I can see why it was cut out of Steven Spielberg's like family-friendly adaptation.
Yeah, it's quite a bleak potential ending. Otherwise,
Yeah.
So how do you read the Condor ending? Because they mentioned in the film, he says like, oh well, Hammond's sort of defense is, well, condors are nearly extinct.
Yeah.
So would you prefer to let them go extinct, or they can live on forever in Jurassic Park kind of thing?
Mm.
And then they're flying off and they see some condors, and he's like, yeah, those are some condors, all right.
I think basically the thought he's supposed to be having is life finds a way. Like
Right.
he sees a big group of this like nearly extinct bird. And I think the idea is that he's going, oh, there's a big group of them, therefore
Life has found a way.
Or like metaphorically, they're flourishing.
Mm.
Life has found a way.
Right, okay. Fair enough then.
Yeah. But I think what it actually comes across as is, are those pelicans or pterodactyls, or what is that about?
Yeah. I mean, it's if you weren't thinking about it for a podcast, you probably wouldn't necessarily pick up on it.
No.
But it's a nice touch, I thought.
Yeah.
Great. So, Chris, you think you know Jurassic Park pretty well?
Intimately.
Great. So can you name, in our Jurassic Park dinosaur quiz,
Right.
all of the dinosaurs that appear in the movie?
Okay.
So first of all, can you tell me how many there are?
15.
This is different types, different species of
Right.
animal, not just how many dinosaurs total.
Yeah.
No, incorrect.
Okay.
7.
7.
7
Okay.
only, yeah.
Right.
Now, can you name them all?
I can give it a go.
Go on then.
Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yeah, that's the first one on the list.
Right. Velociraptor.
Yes, that's the second one on the list.
Triceratops.
Yes. That's correct. We see the sick Triceratops,
Yeah.
which is called an extended cameo.
A Brontosaurus, is it? That's the big vegetarian one?
I'm afraid not.
No. The one that you mentioned that spits venom, the name of which I've already forgotten.
The Dilophosaurus.
That's the one, yeah.
Worth noting that it's very different from its real-life counterpart, made significantly smaller to ensure that the audience didn't confuse it with the raptors.
Right. There's the herd of somethings that runs at them.
That's the Gallimimus, Chris.
Yeah.
Obviously. Featuring the stampede scene where one of them is devoured by the T-Rex.
Yeah. And I don't know the names of them, but the vegetarian dinosaurs that appear, the first ones that you see, and also the ones that sort of get friendly with the group when they're hiding up a tree.
It's the Brachiosaurus.
Brachiosaurus, that's what I meant by Brontosaurus, yeah.
Right.
That's as many as I can probably name, I think.
That's 6 out of 8. I know I said there were 7, but there's 8.
All right. Well, I had no chance then, did I?
Well, the ones you missed there were Parasaurolophus.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Parasaurful activity.
Yeah. Which appears in the background during the first encounter with the Brachiosaurus.
Right.
And then you've got the Alamosaurus, which appears as a skeleton in the Jurassic Park Visitor Centre.
Oh, well, I was never going to get that, was I?
Well, obviously, you weren't going to get it, mate. You didn't know it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Actually. Wow.
Weren't paying attention, if you ask me.
Yeah. Need to watch it again.
Yeah. Well, that's all the dinosaurs, Chris.
Yeah.
But what do we need to know about the park in order to survive in it? We'll find out after this.
This episode of How to Survive is sponsored by Mr. T Luxury Teas, who bring you this week's piece of useless IMDb trivia. This week's film is Jurassic Park. The T-Rex's roars were a combination of dog, penguin, tiger, alligator and elephant sounds. That fact might not be worth knowing, but Mr. T certainly is. Head over to Mr. T Luxury Teas to choose from a wide range of traditional, herbal and fruit teas from all over the world, packed with health benefits and gathered to help you get the most out of your day. Visit mr-tea.co.uk or Google Mr. T Luxury Teas to find us. Use offer code SURVIVE at checkout to receive 10% off any order you make.
So, Chris, Jurassic Park on the Isla Nublar.
Nebula.
Nebula?
I think so. Yeah, one of them.
Nebula.
Yeah.
Whatever. Doesn't matter in many ways. Jurassic Park is the place.
Yeah.
If we were to find ourselves in the film, we would be experiencing a tropical storm.
Yeah.
Severely limited colleagues to help us.
Yeah.
No electricity. And at least 7 types of dinosaur on the loose.
Yeah.
Anything else you can think of that we should be aware of when we talk about how to survive?
Well, of course, InGen plays a role all the way through the film.
That's Hammond's company, right?
Yeah, and in Jurassic World, they've become a sort of more of a conglomerate, like nefarious corporation that sort of got the army involved. And then, of course, you've got Dr. Wu, who we see in the egg hatching scene, who then becomes the sort of head researcher at the park by the time Jurassic World rolls around, and also, again, a sort of villain.
Yeah. Is he the only character who goes through both films?
Yes, he is, yeah.
Yeah.
Assuming
other than
that
the Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yeah,
obviously.
is the T-Rex, is the implication that it's the same one?
Well, it would be 20... It's even in the future, isn't it? So it would be like 30 years. I don't know the lifespan of a T-Rex.
Yeah, me neither.
You'd have to cut open its leg and look at the rings, wouldn't you?
Mm.
So, InGen, are we're not up against them this time?
I think we're keeping an eye on them, but
right.
they're not actually actively against us at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, in many ways, we're fighting against capitalism, if that's the case.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Everyone's enemy.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, fair enough. So, things to look out for: dinosaurs, weather, and duplicitous computer programmers.
Yeah.
And on that basis, Chris, how would you survive in Jurassic Park?
Well, I alluded to this earlier to some extent, but obviously they are recreating an ecosystem to some extent. And you would think that they would pick and choose the things that they breed, especially as they've got the ability to manipulate the genome of the animals that they are, recreating. What would you say? Cloning. In this case, they make sure they're all female. Might I suggest also either not breeding the ones that spit venom,
Yeah.
or
Yes.
or just breeding out the venom spitting ability that
Yeah.
they have. Likewise, breed out the teeth or the claws.
So just if you're saying if you are going to genetically engineer something, then at least genetically engineer it to be safe.
Yeah, if you're going to involve the public. I know it's not the best thing to do ethically if you're trying to faithfully recreate these animals, but none of it is particularly ethical, is it?
No.
Like, so, I mean, you might as well go the whole hog, surely.
Yeah, and actually design
a safe park.
Yeah.
Like, imagine the version of this film where, like, the velociraptors are running around, but they're just, like, they're gumming people.
Yeah.
Instead of gumming and pouring at them,
Yeah.
instead of biting and scratching them to death.
When old Grant at the beginning is like, this claw would disembowel you.
Yeah.
It'd
By
be
the
like-
way, what's that about? Like, I know that he doesn't like kids, but that's just, like, woefully inappropriate, isn't it? It's
No, I
like
don't know if it is. I think it's like if
grizzly.
If you had
like,
a teacher like that, it would be like exciting, wouldn't it?
right. It's like grizzly boy
Yeah.
stuff, isn't
Horrible
it?
histories.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
I'm on board with it.
Mm.
Good teacher. Why is the kid there in the dig?
Yeah, I don't know. In the desert.
Yeah.
Mad. How to survive. Don't bring kids to the desert.
Yeah.
They don't flourish there. So, yeah. Basically, why not breed out the more nefarious characteristics of the things that you're recreating?
Yeah. Want to have like maybe a dinosaur, a T-Rex with like the brain of a cat. So
Yeah.
it's just like wants cuddles all the time,
Yeah.
likes being stroked.
Or a puppy.
Yeah.
Like a Labrador's brain in a T-Rex's body.
The problem with that is it would lick you and it might just take your arm off.
Yeah. And also it's going to be like, you know, Labradors are famously enthusiastic.
Yeah.
They'll like you'll arrive back at the compound,
Yeah.
and it will charge up to meet you.
And that would be that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at like 40 miles an hour, and just crush you.
Yeah. Where you know, you might think it's a lapdog.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So what I mean, what on that basis, it seems like a Tyrannosaurus brain is risky. And
Yeah.
it seems like a cat brain and a dog brain are risky.
yeah.
Are there any brains that would be good?
Don't know. Well, one draft for Jurassic World was going to be that they were crossbreeding dinosaurs and humans.
I remember this, yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty crazy.
pretty rad.
Have you
if
seen
ask me.
the concept art?
Yeah, it's terrible.
It's rubbish. It's like the creature from the Black Lagoon or
Yeah.
something.
It is really bad. No doubt that we can look forward to that in Jurassic World 2.
Yeah. When's that
The
out?
Lost Park.
Is that what it's called?
No, it's not.
I should hope not. That was a rubbish film, wasn't it, really?
Well, Jurassic World. It was
Looking
alright.
back on it, like this,
all the way
this is,
back in episode 4. that
yeah,
was.
100 episodes ago.
Yeah.
It like just thinking about it now while we're talking about it.
Mm.
Just thinking about it now, right? So you got the significant differences between the two films.
Yeah.
In that he's like an ensemble cast of like 4 people, and the terror is real because it's like a close-up horror, and it's like, oh, what if this raptor gets through this like very thin tray and
Yeah.
bites my hand? That's a horror. Whereas in Jurassic World, it's like hundreds of people just
Yeah.
getting massacred.
It's quite funny, though. Like, I have to say that I've watched Jurassic World again since we covered it.
Mm.
And I think we were both pretty, like, positive about the film in the first place. But I've watched it again since, hungover on a Sunday afternoon. And it is just the perfect film for that, honestly.
Yeah.
It's so good for exactly that purpose.
Yeah, it's good seeing the Velociraptor. Like the lessons have been learned,
Yeah.
and like all the Chris Pratt like respects them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because Muldoon he's not up to the job, is he? But
Yeah.
I want to get to that in a bit.
Well, I'm sure we will.
How about you? Have you got any survival tips?
Yeah. So first thing, old Hammond says, first scene he's in,
Yeah.
he's in the desert in that little shed thing, and he's like, "Oh, do you know what? I've got to have an inspection." And they go, "Right, okay. What sort of inspection?" He goes, "I hate inspections. Inspections slow everything down, right?"
Yeah.
Now, that is a severe misunderstanding of why you have an inspection.
Yeah.
And what happened? He carries out the inspection, right?
Mm.
And during the inspection, about 10 people die.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, if rationally speaking, he should say, we need to have an inspection. I agree with you. We need to have an inspection because there's so much wrong with this park.
Well, no doubt he's actually like contractually obliged to have an inspection as well.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you know, there's no way he would have got financing for it otherwise.
No, that's the thing. But that's what they're having the inspection so he can get financing. So he built it to this point on his own money.
Right.
Right? That's the crazy part. And now he's
You
like,
sure it's not just like he's built it and they need it to adhere to a certain standard before...
Right, so they can open it and get their money back, I guess.
Yeah, or like,
Right.
you know, before they sign off on the fact that, you know, they're happy with it.
It's interesting that like investors are just villains.
Yeah.
It's like, these are the fucking investors. But they're the ones who built the park.
Yeah. Without them, there wouldn't be anything here.
Yeah.
And all those people would still be alive.
Yes.
So in many ways...
Let's just say thank you to capitalism.
Yeah. More bodies.
Yeah.
Thanks to capitalism.
What I would say though, he's very opposed to the inspection, but do you think that's a matter of denial on his part because he just wants to get it open because he wants to get people in?
Yeah, I think he's like an enthused individual.
Yeah.
Naturally, and his issue is maybe that his enthusiasm clouds his better judgment. I don't think he's like, as it appears he is in the book, an evil person. I think it's just that his excitement about things is... I mean, it's clear from the first scene that he's a very excitable man.
His tragic flaw is that he just wants to build a massive park with dinosaurs in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like his excitement about having his grandkids there as well is just sort of like, you can see through that he's really excited for like children to see it and families to see it. And I think that's what is driving him. And he's just in a rush to get to that moment where he will like throw open the gates and all these people come in and have an amazing time.
Yeah, but surely he's got he brings his grandchildren in and they almost die several times.
I'm not saying by the end of the film he still feels this way.
Yeah.
I think by the end of the film he's had a bit of a reality check.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess my survival tip is adhere to the inspection guidelines.
Yeah. Well, I mean, which he does, but...
Well, if you know an inspection's happening as well, have it, like, make sure the systems work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I guess the system's partly shut down because of Dennis Nedry's sort of like corporate espionage, which he can't necessarily see coming. Although, you know, you could say one way to survive for him would be to, like, ensure your employees are happy. Because it's clear that Dennis Nedry's not. Like, it's clear that it's a hostile working environment in that office, and he's got debts. And I know they're not the responsibility of Jurassic Park, but maybe he should, like, offer Dennis Nedry a loan that he can pay back out of his salary over a period of time or something like that. And then that would at least keep him on side, because Dennis Nedry is very clearly, like, an incredibly important part of the functioning of the park.
Yeah.
Because the moment that he decides to be a turncoat, is when like a dozen people die.
It is mad. Nedry's financial woes though, his financial difficulties, like, as you said, they aren't part of the Jurassic Park. They're not the responsibility of Jurassic Park. They're not responsibility of John Hammond. And he's hired him. Like, if I went into my job and said, "Well, I know you're paying me a salary, but I've got more bills to pay, and I need more money," they would say, "There was nothing we can do. You're on a salary. We've got a contract."
Yeah, but then, you know, it wouldn't be out of the question for an employer if they had like moved you to Costa Rica and you had basically given up any life outside of your work for the job. Like, you know, they have a responsibility to your mental health. And I guess that his money troubles are probably the result of gambling or something like that.
Right.
And so, you know, they would probably factor in like some sort of situation where maybe if he had gotten himself into debt, they could pay off his debt and then he could pay the debt back, you know, out of his salary piece by piece or something like that.
Yeah, but maybe he's a contract. Maybe he's not on a salary. Maybe he's paid a lump sum at the end of the project.
Maybe.
No, what we need to know is what is on Nedry's contract.
Yeah.
What is he there for?
Yeah.
Because if he's single-handedly built this system, it's not that good a system anyway. And that kind of brings me to my next point, right?
Okay.
So what's the one thing John Hammond says throughout the film, multiple times?
Damn.
No. As well as
He says, "We've spared no expense."
Right, yeah. Oh, now I question that
Yeah.
on the following grounds.
Okay.
Right.
1, no locks on the car doors.
Yep, that's 1. 2, one man built the entire computer system.
Yeah.
3, one man runs the park security.
Yeah.
Both men.
Well, hang on. If you're talking about Muldoon,
Yeah.
he's not even the security warden. He's the fucking game warden. So his job is looking after the animals.
Right.
So it's not even his job. Where's the head of security?
I think that's Samuel L. Jackson.
Samuel L. Jackson is like another computer nerd.
No, he's security engineer, I think.
Yeah, that's not a chief job though, is it?
Right, so you're talking about the guy who patrols with a truncheon, that guy.
Or something. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I just mean the person who's over, watching over the whole situation.
Right. Yeah, there's none of that. I mean, I guess it's Hammond in that case.
But
the elderly man who doesn't even live at the park.
We've spared no expense.
Yeah, we've spared no expense. We've got a rickety system built by one built and maintained by one untrustworthy individual.
Yeah.
The gamekeeper is not to be trusted because he's clearly mental.
Yeah.
Like, he's not taking it seriously.
No.
Right?
No. Muldoon is useless.
Wayne Knight, what's his name? We said it about 15
Dennis
times.
Nedry.
Dennis Nedry is not taking it seriously himself because he's like openly arguing with John Hammond.
Yeah.
And like crunch time, he's like,
It's
I don't know
belligerence.
I don't know why I should bother working. He's like, God's sake, man, there's children at risk.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's like, nah, he's not the best man for the job, right?
In fairness, the children aren't at risk at that point because they only become at risk as a result of his actions.
True. Still, he's not the man. He's not the man he should have chosen.
No.
Samuel L. Jackson, I don't know what he's up to.
No.
He can't. He doesn't do anything except like try things that don't work and then die.
Yeah.
And then Muldoon is probably the worst candidate because he's the opening scene. Right, this got me. They're all wearing like wet weather gear and like armor, and he's wearing little cargo shorts with his socks pulled up, holding a fucking rifle.
Yeah,
like
Well, I mean, maybe we should because one of my survival tips.
Yeah, I'll round off my one nicely. But I want to transition nicely.
Okay, yeah.
When you say you've spared no expense, really mean it. I mean, do the basics.
Yeah, yeah.
Like they've got a skeleton. They've got 3 people running this operation.
Yeah,
and it's a bowlingly run.
It's not. That's not. I know they like. It's basically implied that they send most of the crew back.
Yeah.
In fact, there's even a bit where Samuel L. Jackson talks. Like he sort of raises his voice, says, "Everyone, last shuttle bus down to the dock goes," and it's like we haven't seen any of these people. Like it's like he's just turned around to like an empty soundstage and gone, "Everyone." Go.
Probably because he has.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not a very believable moment.
No.
But yeah. Well, yeah, I agree. One expense that has clearly been spared, as you said, is hiring Muldoon.
Yes. He just wants the job because he likes carrying a gun and wearing
So
the gamekeeper clothes.
Game warden. Yeah. Game warden. The definition of that is you have them at zoos or wildlife parks. Their job is to look after the wildlife.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, do we see him looking after any wildlife at any point in the film?
No.
Any time he's in the vicinity of literally any of the creatures, he's got his shotgun out.
Yeah. Well, they are very
They're
dangerous
dangerous,
animals.
yeah. But compare that to Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
And his character in Jurassic World, who actually has a rapport with the characters. It's basically Chris Pratt's character in Jurassic World is basically like whoever hired him must have gone, right, we need to learn from the mistakes that we made with Muldoon.
Yeah.
Like, I never met this Muldoon guy. He was before my time, but I've heard some stories about him. Like, yeah. He's also, like, he seems to be the de facto security chief.
Yeah, because he's got a gun.
Yeah, as you said as well, right? He's also no good at that either, right? Because he's no good at dealing with any security issues or with the dinosaurs whenever they're a threat. Like his employee dies at the start when when they're loading that.
When it shouldn't even be a risk.
Yeah, like the risk assessment on that, honestly. Yeah. And like, other than that, he only ever runs away from or gets tricked by dinosaurs, right? And he's supposed to be the expert. He's the game warden. He knows less about raptors than Dr. Grant does, who has only surmised all of this from looking at skeletons. Dr. Grant has never seen a living velociraptor, and he knows substantially more about how velociraptors behave than the game warden of Jurassic Park, right? Look, why have him in at all, right? Because he's obviously rubbish. He's really, really rubbish.
He's pretty. Do you think he's literally responsible for the deaths of anyone in this film?
He, at the very least, well, I think...
Well, he oversees the operation at the beginning, right? Which, as I mentioned in my intro to this podcast, is done in the dead of night in a tropical storm.
Yeah.
Now, they live in a rainforest. He can just wait till the morning and do it. Like, that raptor's not going to die in that. It's a pretty spacious cage.
Yeah.
Instead, he puts it in like this slippery mud. He's like, now is the time. Now is the time, guys.
Yeah.
No.
Also, where are they getting that raptor from? Because that looks like a sort of import crate.
Yeah.
They're all born on the island.
Yeah.
Just have like a bit. If you've got like the raptor enclosure, when the raptors are in their eggs, right, and they're nice and portable and safe, just pop them in there.
Yeah.
Done. Don't faff around. Like, because also they must have had to do this multiple times.
Right.
And it looked like, shipping individual velociraptors across the island. And it looks like an intensely stressful, dangerous experience.
Yeah.
And
so you're saying they raised them from egg to full-term adult velociraptor, and then they're like, now's the time to move it.
Now we should move them in this dangerous procedure. Yeah. And like, Hammond is like, oh, they imprint on the first person they see.
Yeah.
I insist on being there for the, births of all of them. That's a fucking terrible idea.
Yeah.
Because have the fucking game warden be there. If they're going to imprint on anyone, that's the person that they should be imprinting on, because he's notionally, at least, supposed to be the person that is going to see them the most, even if he just likes to feed them like with a remote crane.
Yeah.
Like, oh dear. Muldoon, just fire him.
Yeah, it is a good comparison though with Chris Pratt, because that is like you said, it's like they've learned everything.
Yeah.
How many Friday the 13th movies have we seen where they learn nothing?
Yeah. And also think of Chris Pratt when he like one of his employees at the start falls into the enclosure.
Yeah.
And he like fucking combat rolls into the velociraptor cage and then is like marshalling this guy to safety, all this sort of thing. Muldoon just goes like, oh, like falls over. Yeah.
Rubbish.
Yeah. Muldoon, terrible.
Yeah.
And another thing is about Hammond.
Right.
There's that bit where it's become apparent that Samuel L. Jackson's failed to
stay alive.
Yeah. And then Ellie is like, "Oh, I'll go," and Hammond's like, "Well, I mean, you sure I shouldn't go because you've got
you've got this that you haven't. That is to say that you've got no
exactly.
Yeah.
Like basically he's saying maybe I should go because I'm a man and you're a woman." And she's like, "Oh, leave the sexism out of it, out of the survival situations, or whatever." It's like Hammond walks with a stick.
Yeah.
And they go outside and they're being hunted. Like the second they step out, Muldoon's like, "We're being hunted." It's they're walking into enemy territory for all intents and purposes. And the idea that gender, irregardless of gender, that the idea that Hammond thinks that he should be the one to go out and like rescue.
Know your limits.
Yeah, exactly. And he clearly doesn't.
No. Was he supposed to get hit the raptors with his stick?
Yeah.
He's got more of a weapon than Ellie, but then has he? Because he can't. If he used it, he'd be tipped off balance and eaten alive.
Put his hip out.
So I think with that said, I mean, we've spared no expense on this podcast, and we've learned everything we needed to know.
Exactly.
And I think we now know how to survive in Jurassic Park. We had an email in this week, Chris, from Sebastian.
Oh, yeah.
He says, Dear Chris and Joe, first of all, thank you for putting together this podcast week after week. I'm enjoying every show, and my disappointment that the real Chris Morris is not involved in any way is almost completely gone. And that's a criticism we get a lot of you, that you aren't the other Chris Morris.
Yeah, I mean, I can't help that.
No.
Like, some people accuse us of like, it's a lie or something, but
It's not a lie.
It's not a lie. It is my name. And also, surely it would be like, you know, hosted by Chris Morris and Martin Scorsese or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, surely we'd go all in if we were going to lie about it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
We would just have your like bog standard name.
Bog standard. Joe Sherwood's not a bog standard name.
Mundane. Bored of it.
Yeah. Sebastian goes on.
Yeah.
I've now watched 3 movies I hadn't seen to prepare for your podcast.
Okay, that's good. We've watched 104.
The Hills Have Eyes,
Yeah.
Event Horizon,
Yeah.
and now Predator.
Okay.
So I will stop this now, since I seem to make bad picks, and will never get these 5 hours back.
Yeah.
Anyway, I have 2 suggestions for surviving in Predator, which we covered last week.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
For Dutch, and basically anyone on his team, stick to your principles. If Arnie hadn't broken with his group's credo at the beginning, which he's written in phonetic here, "We've always work alone."
Nice. Yeah.
And it refused to take the CIA guy with them, I don't think they would have been sent out on the mission in the first place.
Probably not. Yeah.
And for the Predator, no showboating. His chivalry at the end, when he throws off his armor and weapons, is not consistent with his constant use of superior technology.
It's true.
So just finish Arnie off and be done with it.
I think the Predator seems to take like having literally anything that could be considered a weapon as a license to use his like gamma rays.
Yeah, exactly.
To like blow people into smithereens.
Yeah,
which is a bit stupid.
There's an old episode of South Park from like series 1 where they go hunting with Stan's uncle Jimbo.
Okay,
and I think they're not allowed to hunt in Colorado. So he says you can only do it in self-defense. So every time they see a rabbit, he shouts, "It's coming right for us," and then shoots it with a rocket launcher. It's good.
Nice.
Sebastian made some suggestions for films we could cover.
Okay.
One of them is Reservoir Dogs, which I thought could be quite good.
Yeah, interesting. Maybe we could pair it with another bank robbery or something.
We'll think about that in the next few weeks. And also Blade Runner. Obviously, the new Blade Runner is coming out.
Yeah.
So maybe we could dip our toes into the original. Sebastian finishes by saying, "That's it. Thanks and all the best from Berlin."
Nice.
Here's your 5 stars. He gave us 5 asterisks there.
Nice.
And he signs off Sebastian. That is his name.
Well, thanks very much, Sebastian, for emailing in.
That was a good email.
It was a good email. If you want to email in, the email address is howtosurviveshow@gmail.com. You can also get in touch on Facebook, facebook.com/howtosurvivepod, and of course on Twitter if your messages are slightly more truncated. And that is @howtosurvivepod.
And don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on Podcast Man. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts from.
What have we got next week, Joe?
Next week, Chris, we're going back in time to the swinging 60s.
No.
The swinging 70s.
Yeah.
And we're doing The Conjuring.
Yeah. So back in time in the story, but the film's actually 4 years old.
Yeah.
It's from 2013. It's The Conjuring, directed by James Wan. It's been requested a few times. If you have any films that you would like to request, then do let us know. We do pop them on a sort of big list and we are working our way through them. Hopefully we will never run out of horror movies.
Yeah. I mean, they keep making them.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sadly.
All sorts of people keep making them, yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks very much.
Be warned that somewhere something has survived. That's the tagline for Lost World. So, I mean, we'll do Lost World one day, probably. Will we? Pretty bad, isn't it? This isn't the ending.
I hope not.
Go on, think of something. Think of a good line.
And remember, how to survive finds a way.
That's fine.